Hey viewers, I'm Effie Jostock and welcome back to my author channel. Today is going to be more of like a personal, keep myself accountable sort of video. So I am going to be talking about why I feel the need to cut 20,000 words from my third book in my epic fantasy series. So let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Effie Jostock and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Like all the blood, or if they didn't think there was enough, time has run out for the Durvaharians. The end of this life is near, and the Emperor is preparing his return. So in case you don't know, I've been working on book 3 in my epic fantasy series since about February of this last year, and it's taken me almost the entire year to write it, and I just finished the first draft back in August, I think, pretty recently. Anyways, so the first draft ended up coming out to be at about 169,000 words, which is basically 20,000 words longer than, first of all, I wanted it to be, and second of all, than Heir of Two Kingdoms, which is already so thick. So as I'm getting into the editing and rewriting stage, I have decided that I want it to be 150,000 words, back at the original goal, same length as Heir of Two Kingdoms, which means that I'm going to have to cut 20,000 words from it. Now there are several reasons why I want to do this, besides just wanting it to be at the original goal that I had, and a lot of these reasons have to do mostly with monetary reasons, but also the way the story flows, and I don't want the book to be too long for some readers that they're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this book is still going on, which I don't think that it's going to be like that because there's so much going on in the book. But either way, pretty much the main reason is going to be monetary reasons. So for those of you who may not know, page count is a huge decisive factor in how much you have to price your book and how much printing costs are going to be. So as kind of a ballpark, Heir of Two Kingdoms is about 450 pages, and because of the size of the book, the type of paper, everything that goes into it, the printing cost is $7.58. And now that doesn't seem all that bad until you realize that you have to have a retail discount of at least 40% in the United States now, which causes your personal gain from the book to be a whopping $2.44. Which may seem like a lot to some people and not enough to other people, but for me personally, that's what I'm hoping the average is going to be like for my books, and I don't really want to make any less than that, because then it just seems like you're treading water for no reason. Now, for comparison, if you have a 170,000 word book, which is where Son of the Prophet is right now, and it would be longer than Heir of Two Kingdoms, then it ends up raising, see, I'm using the Ingram Spark calculator right now, it would be about 510 pages, which raises the cost of your book to be $8.42, and the compensation to be only $1.60 per sale. Yeah, so printing costs goes up, the compensation for how much money I actually make per book goes way down, and that is not even the end of it. The second monetary reason why I want to cut 20,000 words for my book is editing costs, which is something I can't really complain about because honestly I have the best editor in the world and I would not trade her for the world, and I would pay and appreciate every single cent that I give out to her. However, big books are super expensive to edit. So being totally transparent, editing 170,000 word, even with the extremely low rate that my editor has, it's going to be about $1,300 to edit, which is just a lot. It's just a lot. And especially because of the marketing that I want to do for when Son of the Prophet comes out, any type of shaving down on the word count that I can do is going to be more money in my pocket for marketing. And honestly, I would rather get this book out into a lot of people's hands and have something that's potentially long-winded and then just costs more for editing. So next, a non-monetary reason why I want to cut 20,000 words out of my third book has to do with how long it takes me to edit the books. So when you have anything over, honestly, like 100,000 words, it starts to become a bit of a sludge to get through. Especially if you know that you're going to be doing multiple rounds of editing, it just takes longer. And by the time you get to about like 3/4 of the way, you're done, you don't want to edit anymore, and sometimes you just kind of start slacking off. And knowing how I edit, and my pace of editing, and how long it took me to edit Heir of Two Kingdoms, I don't want to have to spend that much time editing this book and then also risk potential editing burnout, which causes me to not edit the rest of the book as well. And I don't want to skimp at all on the quality of this book, so I still, of course, want to have my amazing editor, and I want to be able to put in a lot of time and effort into the book that I have, even if that means it's less words than the original draft. And then one last non-monetary reason is I don't want the book to be too long. The way that the series is set up, we start out with Child of the Dragon Prophecy, move on to Heir of Two Kingdoms, and both of these books follow Stefania as the main character, which is why I kind of like to call them the Stefania duology. But book 3 actually goes back 800 years before Child of the Dragon Prophecy and starts with Thaddeus's origin story. So with the way that the book is set up, it jumps so far back in the time, has a completely different set of characters, set of world building, culture, etc. And so I can't really afford to spend too much time on it because I don't want people to get too involved in this completely different setting and then have to be thrust back into the time period of Heir of Two Kingdoms. So that being a factor in mind, having a slightly shorter book, I say slightly shorter, 150,000 words is still ridiculously long, but a slightly shorter book than 170,000 words, I think will be more comfortable to readers so that they can transition easily back into the main plot line and timeline of the rest of the series. And lastly, this isn't really a big deal. It's not something I'm really 100% going by, but I don't want this book series to take up too much space on people's shelves, honestly. I know people are always like, oh my gosh, I want big books to take up a lot of space, but my whole point of this series is to write like a ton of books in this world, so I already know they're gonna take up a lot of space on people's shelves, and I don't want to have so many thick books that they're like, I just don't want to buy any more in this series because I'll literally not have room for them. I want my books to be like a moderate size, like hopefully no thicker than this, so that people feel better about buying more books and them not taking over their whole shelves. But that's kind of, I don't know. I don't know if that's a issue or not. Probably not to super fans, but it's just something I think about, and I just think that having a nice little series that just lines up well and isn't like, you know, Game of Thrones size, it's just kind of like here, I think that'd be really aesthetic. So it's kind of another thing I'm keeping in mind. Now, all of those reasons aside, how am I going to tackle this incredible feat? Well, I was a little worried about it at first. Every time I've gone back and edited a book, I've ended up adding so much, and I'm talking like thousands and thousands of words, and adding like content, world building, scenes, characters. Oh, it's so bad. So I've actually been kind of scared to edit Son of the Prophet at all because I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I add another 30,000 words and then it's gonna be 200,000 words and I have to split the book and all of this worry. But I literally cannot split the book because of the way it is in the series, taking place so long before, and the way that it ties into the rest of the books. I cannot split this book, so it has to be smaller. It cannot grow any bigger. Now, I would be more worried about it, except this is one of the first books that I have actually written start to finish very recently, which means I actually kind of know how to draft now. I know the world, I know how to plot better now, and I'm not just taking old, underwritten work that needed more world building. I'm actually able to take a book that I wrote and look at it and go, oh, hey, I did a pretty good job. I don't need to add anything because it's already there. So I'm not too worried about it. I just am gonna have to keep myself on a very short leash to make sure that I don't go adding a bunch of unnecessary stuff. But also, I think there's a lot of content in the beginning of Son of the Prophet when he's like more of a little kid that can probably be condensed quite a bit. I think I was stalling for some reason when I was writing it, and then the speed really picks up later in the book, but I don't want you guys to have to wait for the action. It's an incredible book. There's so much going on, and I just want to get everybody into it as soon as possible. So that in mind, I'm gonna start out mostly with my filler words. As a major overwriter, I can take something that could be said in literally 10 words and somehow turn it into a 100-word paragraph of just gibberish, to be honest. So even in like the first, I think the prologue, chapter 1 and chapter 2 of just rewording, I have already taken out 1,000 words. And since that's in like the first 2 chapters and I have at least 30, I think, more chapters to go, that's like 15,000 words taken out just because of rewriting. So I'm not worried about this at all. However, things could go south very quickly, which is why I'm making these videos to kind of document my progress and hopefully keep myself accountable on why I need to take out 20,000 words from Son of the Prophet. So I guess that's what I'm doing. So completely ignoring the 1,000 words I've already cut out of the book, I'm still aiming for another 20,000. So at the end, it'll hopefully be 21,000. But anyways, today is going to be day 1 in seeing how many of these words I can take out. I'm going to be posting maybe little updates. We'll see how that goes. So you guys can kind of keep up with my progress, and hopefully I will be able to succeed at this massive endeavor on editing my 3rd epic fantasy book. Thank you guys so much for watching, and may the sun smile upon your presence.